Okay, guys, thank you so much for coming. I'm so excited with this turnout. I literally thought it would be like 1 or 2 people, so I'm like really psyched about this. Yeah, except for the people that have to come. I'm super psyched about this. I want this to be super casual, so if you guys have any comments, if you have any questions, if you agree, if you disagree, anything like that, feel free to just kind of shout out. As we were going through, I want it to be more of a discussion than it is just me kind of talking at you. But let's go into it. Most of these are your questions. I do kind of a little bit of a recap, kind of just like some basics before I go into your questions. But like I said, if you guys have any other questions, feel free to ask me as we are going through. But to tell you a little bit about my credentials and why I'm here talking to you guys about nutrition today, obviously I'm a CrossFit coach, but that doesn't necessarily make me certified to talk about nutrition. So probably like many of you, we all grow up in kind of this diet-obsessed culture where how you look is perceived as good versus bad, right? So at a very young age, I remember myself being very obsessed with morphing my body to be a certain way. You guys, some of you might relate to that, but I remember getting magazines, books, advertisements, commercials, all that kind of stuff telling you how to lose weight, how to lose fat, the best diet, the best way to gain muscle, all of this kind of stuff, and it felt like it was just very, very over-consuming. So I tried a bunch of it, right? Probably like some of you guys have. I have tried probably every single diet except for the keto diet. I will say that. I've never tried that. But I have tried every diet. I have tried diet pills. I have tried exercising. I've tried every single form of exercise that you can possibly imagine. And nothing was working for me. So I was trying everything. I was like, I don't really understand why all of these things are these big fads, all of the rage, all of this kind of stuff, but nothing was working. If anything, it was making me even more unhappy with my body and how I looked. So I took some matters into my own hands. I started working with a nutrition coach right when I started being a CrossFit coach. I kind of wanted to see how I could make changes in both my performance and my body composition. That worked really well. I went on later on for a different reason to work with a clinical registered dietitian, and I've also worked with a holistic registered dietitian. So I have a pretty broad view of experts who I have had the opportunity to work with. After I worked with those professionals, I got my own certification. I am Precision Nutrition Level 1 certified, and then I also work one-on-one with nutrition clients, which some of you may or may not know that. So I just kind of want to go into some basics like I was talking about earlier. So I want to talk about what a calorie is. And obviously all of you know what a calorie is. You guys have probably, all of you eat calories, obviously. But calories are something that's really demonized by the multi-billion, if not trillion-dollar diet industry, right? Everything on our packages says low calorie or low carb or high carb or protein or keto or paleo or whatever it is, right? And so I hear a lot of people saying things about the amount of calories that they're eating, how many, if that's good, if that's bad, whatever that is. So to kind of simplify it, a calorie is a unit of energy or a unit of fuel, right? So it's actually not bad. There's nothing wrong with a calorie. In fact, you need calories to do all of the things that you guys love to do. I tell all of my nutrition clients, think of it like a car, right? You put gas in your car, right? I think about calories like the gas that you're putting in your car, okay? The more you use your car, the more the more fuel that you need, right? So the more that you move and use your body, the more calories that you need to maintain those activities that you do, right? So something to think about there. Calories are made up of different macronutrients. You guys have probably heard of counting your macros, probably especially in the CrossFit community. But just to kind of give you a recap of what these are, and you don't have to count any macros or any calories or anything like that if that's not your thing, you certainly can. But calories are made up of different macronutrients, including carbs, protein, and fat. So carbs have 4 calories per 1 gram, so 1 gram of carbs is 4 calories. Protein has 4 calories per gram, and then fat also has 9 calories per gram, so it's a little bit more dense than protein and carbs. To get a little bit more into macronutrients, in a balanced diet, and this was a good question I had, like what should my plate look like? In a balanced diet, we want to be eating all of the macronutrients. So a lot of diets kind of demonize maybe 1 or 2 of those macronutrients. However, if you want a balanced diet, all these macronutrients play a different function in our body, helping our organs run, helping our energy levels, and all of that kind of stuff. So we do want every single one of them. At each meal, it would be great if we could have 1 of each of those, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in a second, but for satiety reasons, so the more full you are, the less you will probably be eating later on. blood sugar regulation, energy, sleep is another one, organ function. There's a million different reasons why we could have all of those different macronutrients on our plates. So some examples of some of these macronutrients, carbs. Obviously carbs are also sugar. So I'm not going to be talking when I'm referring to carbs in this seminar as like the Snickers and the Twix and the fun carbs. But some really good carbs for you, something like bread, potatoes, fruit, a lot of veggies, rice, all those different things are considered carbs. We've also got protein, animal meat, egg whites, fish, Greek yogurts, those are some examples. And we've got fat, butter, olive oil, avocado oil, nuts, coconut oil, egg yolks, butter, etc. Nut butters, all that kind of stuff. Also, some foods contain multiple macronutrients, and some examples of that are full eggs contain fat and protein, so the yolk is going to be fat, the white is going to be protein. We've got quinoa, it has a little bit of carbs, a little bit of fat, a little bit of protein. Nut butter has fat, carbs, and protein. Black beans have protein and carbs. So you guys can kind of see in this image that there are some overlapping things as well. I also want to address carbs quickly before we move on. So carbs are the most demonized food in the diet industry right now, and carbs are not going to kill you. Carbs actually play a really great function in your diet. They are actually your body's preferred source of energy. So anyone in a CrossFit gym, if you guys are doing high intensity exercise, which every single one of you are, you need carbs. That's kind of a no ifs, ands, or buts. If you are eating really low carb, you'll actually find that you are not going to be performing the way that you want, you're not building muscle the way that you want, and you're probably going to feel like crap. So that's my little spiel on carbs, but good carbs. So
how low is low carb? How low is low?
That's a great question.
Can you go?
I would say I like to have people eat a carb at every single meal. I'll give kind of an example to you. When I used to go through a phase where I was super afraid of carbs, I was eating around 70 grams of carbs a day, probably, and that looks like a bowl of oatmeal and a banana, and my energy was really, really low. When I kind of flipped that, I was eating around 240 grams of carbs, energy was really, really high, started losing weight, started seeing performance in the gym, all that kind of stuff. So I would say I would like females to have at least 180 grams of carbs, somewhere along that. Men maybe on the realm of 220 to 250 minimum. Does that answer your question? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, cool. So to move forward with that, what a healthy plate looks like, again, I like to see all of the macronutrients at every single meal. Vegetables, just go crazy on them. You can never really overeat vegetables, so always be sure to eat the rainbow. Don't really think too much about that. But I have some questions about, what should I be eating before workout, after workout, what should a meal look like, that sort of thing. This is going to be kind of a typical meal for you, right? In a typical meal, I'd like to see all of these different macronutrients just because, one, it's going to keep you satiated for the longest. So I have a lot of people come to me and say, hey, I snack a lot after dinner. Well, maybe you're not eating enough at dinner, right? Maybe you're not eating enough fiber at dinner. That's going to keep you fuller for longer. Maybe you're not eating enough fat for dinner. Maybe not enough protein, right? Those are the foods that are going to keep you fuller for a little bit longer. Right before and after a workout, if you're someone who likes to eat before or after, what I like to see is protein and carbs. The reason for that is because fat is a little bit slower digesting, which has a really great purpose, right, for keeping you satiated for a little bit longer period, keeping that energy stretched for a little bit longer. However, after a workout and your glycogen is depleted, you're going to want those calories a little bit faster, right? So you're going to want something like carbs and protein to replenish that and kind of get you going, get that energy back up in before a workout just because it's faster digesting. You'll probably feel it if you're one of those people who eats before a workout. If you eat something like a lot of fat or a lot of fiber, you might feel yourself a little bit weighed down. Simple carbs and protein are going to be your go-to for before a workout. That might look something like Greek yogurt, 0% fat Greek yogurt, and an apple or banana or something along those lines. Protein and carbs. And then I also have people avoid eating one macronutrient at a time, so I like to just kind of blend two if you guys are having a snack or something along those lines. Carbs digest in your body very, very fast. So if you find yourself, I feel like I'm snacking all the time, maybe you're just eating something that's digesting in your body really fast and you're finding yourself fuller later on. An example of this, I've had some nutrition clients just eat a bowl of oatmeal for breakfast, right? That's just straight carbs. They're finding themselves super, super starving maybe an hour or two later. Let's put some fat in there, let's get some protein in there. Maybe some eggs with it, maybe some nut butter, right? Something along those lines will make you a little bit fuller for longer.
Callie,
Yeah.
Quick.
Yeah.
A palm and a fist and a cupped hand.
Mhm.
What do those look like?
Your hand. Like your
Okay.
hand. Yeah.
Is like what would fit in my palm.
Uh-huh.
The palm.
Yep.
This is a cup.
Yep. So like
This is
cupped
a-
in your
and
hand.
then this
Like
is
you could
the
hold
fist.
it. Yep.
I'm just looking at your guides up there.
Yep. Yeah. So those are kind of guidelines if you're someone who doesn't like to necessarily like weigh things out, right? If you're not like you don't have a food scale or something along those lines, that's just kind of like a good rule of thumb. So your carb, it could be like a piece of bread, right? Would fit in your hand perfectly. Or if you had potato, if your like potatoes could fit in your hand, that's
And this is
perfect.
what the post-workout meal would look like.
This is what I would like to see just a normal meal, like a breakfast, lunch, or dinner look like. Yep. I would save the fat and maybe save the vegetables for a little bit later, not directly after a workout, just because they slow digestion. So you want something that's going to be faster digested to get to your muscles faster.
Or what slow digestion? What'd you say?
Veggies.
Vegetables?
Vegetables and fat. Not in a bad way. It has a lot of fiber in them, so it slows digestion, so it will keep you fuller for longer. Don't take that as a bad thing. They're great.
No,
for you.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
nice.
Just right after a workout, you're going to want something that gets to your muscles, gets to your body fast, because you just depleted all of the energy that you already had. Any other question? Does that make sense? Cool.
So, so this is for men or women? Isn't
Yep.
it? Okay.
So men are going to probably naturally eat a little bit more than women, okay? And also, I want you guys to think about what your activities look like. And I'll go through that in a little bit later too. Your activity level is also going to dictate how much you're eating per meal as well. All right, so another good question we had was, what is healthy versus not? And I've been a CrossFit coach for around 6 years, and I have seen so many different people come in, nutrition clients, just clients coming in for a workout, talking about the food that they're eating, being healthy, being not healthy. I was good this weekend, I was really bad this weekend, I went on vacation and I fell off track, right? All that kind of stuff. One of the biggest things that I hate about that is we're demonizing foods, right? We're putting them in these categories of this is good for me, this is bad for me. If this is bad for me, I'm not allowed to have it, right? And then when we don't have it, or when we do have it, we either maybe feel some guilt, we maybe go off the rails because we're like, oh, well, I already ruined my diet anyway, so I might as well just kind of pop back on Monday, right? But what I like to do with my nutrition clients is just kind of figure out what is nutrient dense and what is less nutrient dense, right? Not good versus bad. This food has more nutrients, this food has less nutrients. How can we fit them both together in our healthy diet, right? So, what is a nutrient dense food? This is going to be the more natural foods is what we're looking for, right? So, things that are not made in a lab. So, an example of this would be a banana, right? Think about the ingredients in a banana. The ingredients in a banana is obviously banana, right? If you're looking at something like a box of Cheez-Its, what are the ingredients in Cheez-Its? I don't really know what they are, but it's definitely not natural foods per se, right? So let's think about that. That's what I mean by a nutrient-dense foods, not made in a lab. So what I like to tell my nutrition clients, this is what I do with myself, is having 70% nutrient-dense foods, and then we have 30% of those kind of fun foods, right? Or the less nutrient-dense foods. Now, some of you might say, well, why would you add foods in there that are not necessarily good for you, right? Maybe some high sugar foods, maybe this is alcohol for some people, maybe this is cake or,
Lemon heads.
Lemon heads. Exactly. Exactly, right? We've all got our favorite foods that maybe are not as nutritious for us as we want them to be. But a lot of people need to recognize that foods are, if we could just sit down, eat a meal, and be done with it, that would be one thing, but it's not, right? Food is social, food is a celebration, food is a hobby for a lot of people, right? Food is
Culture.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot. What'd you say?
Therapist.
A therapist, yes, exactly. Right, so we don't want to be falling off and back on the wagon, right? I had a nutrition client come to me a couple weeks ago and they said, hey, like I'm really, really good when I'm cooking at home, but then when I go on vacation, I completely fall off the rails. Like I literally can't help myself. I just eat everything in sight. I eat everything that's absolutely terrible for me. Okay, well adding those 30% fun foods into our diet, that will help us maybe not binge later on, right? If you allow yourself to have these foods in moderation, maybe you're not going to be so obsessed with them when they're in front of you and you're allowing yourself to have them, right? Like for me, I love chocolate. I eat chocolate after a couple pieces of chocolate after dinner every single night. When I was restricting chocolate and I thought it was quote unquote bad for me, when I got a piece of chocolate, it was like I literally couldn't stop, right? You can't stop yourself because you're like, this is bad, I shouldn't be eating this, right? But if you allow those foods in your diet, they don't have that much weight on them. They're not as special or as, I'm doing something bad, I'm kind of rebelling, something along those lines. So that's why I like to add those those less nutrient dense foods in there. Makes it a little bit more fun, right? And it's hard to stick to a fully nutrient dense diet, right? A lot of people, it takes kind of the fun out of it. I know a lot of people like to have their glass of wine at night or, whatever those different things are. This can also help us avoid binging later on, avoid overeating, and again, just not feeling that guilt around it, because we shouldn't be feeling guilt around the food that we're eating, because that's tying also a negative emotion to your food, which is not healthy for you. Any questions so far? Yeah, Janet.
Cheese, is that like 70 or the 30? Is that a fun food or is that a real?
That's a good question. That's a great question. So my short answer to that would be, let's go for something that's grass-fed, right? So something that is a little bit more natural, so it doesn't have any added hormones or anything like that.
Right, so not Velveeta, but real cheddar cheese and stuff.
Then yeah, I would say
doesn't count.
Manchego, yeah, sheep milk.
yeah, totally. Then I would say it's definitely part of the 70%. It has good protein in it. A lot of it has good fat in it. And definitely depending on if your body can tolerate it. There's definitely people that are lactose intolerant, right? We'll talk a little bit about food intolerances a little bit later. But yeah, it could be definitely part of a healthy diet. That's a great question.
So Bailey's would be
Yes. It's like, it's milk. It's just like drinking milk. Feels really good for you.
It's
Yes.
calorie dense, that's for sure.
Yeah. When you're bulking, Callie, drink all the Baileys you want, girl. Love that. I had another great question. What to look for on a food label? I absolutely love this question, one, because literally no one teaches us this, right? And a lot of people look at food labels and have literally no idea what to look at. So the short answer to this is it kind of depends on what your goals are, right? So let's see, when I was going through a phase where I was trying to lose weight, I was looking at the calories first, right? I was like, I need something that is going to be probably lower calories to fit into my calorie count for the day. I was looking at the serving size, I was looking at the different macros, right? I had so many carbs, protein, and fat I could eat to see if it would fit into my day. If you're someone who maybe doesn't necessarily care about that, I personally don't care about that at the moment, so I usually go straight to the ingredient list and I see how quote-unquote nutrient dense it is, right? How many ingredients are on there. And to kind of assess how nutrient dense something like a box package that you would have a nutrition label on is to see how many ingredients there are and how many of the ingredients that you can pronounce on there, right? So what I look for is going to be, well, are there any vegetables? Is there any source of protein? What are the carbs? What are the fats that are included in this, right? And I have a Lay's potato chip, ingredient list up there. And you guys will see that we've got a lot of seed oils, we've got safflower oil, we've got corn oil and canola oil. I personally also look at seed oils, and I'll go through those in a little bit. I don't tell nutrition clients to cut anything out of their diet, but if you are going to cut anything out of your diet, I would say seed oils are going to be the big thing. They're very inflammatory, they're highly processed, and they're very not good for your gut health. So I always look straight for those, and I look at the nutrient density of it. So you'll see in the Lay's potato chips, and again, this could be part of the 30%. I'm not trying to demonize Lay's potato chips, but you guys will notice that there are a lot of ingredients in here. A lot of it maybe not even food, right? We've got caramel color, not really necessarily sure exactly what that is. We've got a lot of, natural flavors, which again, I don't really know what that is. And then we've got a high amount of seed oils. So this is probably something I would shelf and maybe find something a little bit different, just because those are the two big things I look for.
And powders, like a lot of times you'll see those veggie straws, and it's just like it's got some vegetable powder on it.
Totally.
There's nothing.
Well, exactly. Do you know what that is? I have no idea what that is. I don't think they even know what that is, right? A lot of packaged food has a lot of fillers in them too. And again, if you are reading through the list and you're like, I have no idea what this is and I cannot pronounce it, let's say it's a little bit less nutrient dense. It's a good rule of thumb for that. Yeah.
Linda found that Fritos don't have any ingredients in it.
That Fritos don't have any?
Only three.
Only three.
But one would be a seed oil.
Okay.
If you're looking for a chip,
Okay, there you go. Dance like yeah,
Cheese, Frito beet Lay's. That's all I do.
Okay, Boulder makes great avocado oil chips.
Yes.
Avocado
Yep.
chips.
Yeah, so they have a lot of different
Avocado
options nowadays
oil.
with avocado oil.
They're really good.
Not a seed oil, so.
Denver Chip Company too, or something, right?
I've tried those.
Maybe.
Boulder does.
Yeah.
There's a long list of them now. I remember the old days when there was 0. Now there's a bunch. There's Jackson's Honest. There's Boulder. There's Terra chips. There's a whole bunch that use non-seed oils for their chips now. So it's actually pretty easy to find.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, Whole Foods Market has a huge section of them, which is awesome. So, obviously, it's becoming more recognized that some of these foods aren't as nutrient dense for you, and they're coming out with a lot of other options, which is really, really awesome. The last and the next thing I will look at usually on a food label is going to be sugar. Sugar is not necessarily going to kill you. Again, we can add it into our 30%, but good rule of thumb, if I'm getting something that's not like, if it's not my best friend's birthday, I'm getting cake, I'm probably not going to look at the sugar because I don't want to know. However, if I'm just eating my everyday stuff, I'll probably look for 10 to 15 grams or less as a good rule of thumb for sugar.
They're preserving.
If I'm like looking at a box of something, not per day, I probably eat way more than 15 grams of sugar in a day, but if I'm buying something, like if I'm buying a bag of chips or whatever it is, I will look at the sugar content. And if there's really high sugar levels, I'll probably go a little bit for something lower.
It's amazing what you find sugar in
Oh yeah.
when you start looking. Like
Oh yeah.
bacon and
Totally.
and
Like pasta sauce has a ton of sugar in
free
it.
sugar. It's crazy.
Totally. Yeah. A lot of added sugar in a lot of things.
Well, in granola, once you start reading the back on the granola, different kinds of granola,
Totally.
some of them are full of sugar.
Totally.
That's what's holding it together.
Literally.
So it's holding America.
Literally.
That's true.
That's so true. But that's something good to keep in mind too, with packaging nowadays, especially with the diet industry, like the packaging will say something on it like, oh, like this is granola, so it's healthier than these other, cereals or something like that, or this is keto, or this is organic, or whatever that is. But again, if we're looking maybe at the food label, we see there's a lot of seed oils, there's a lot of sugar in it, right? Like just because it says organic, or just because it says it's low fat, or whatever it says on there, you guys can have the kind of control to kind of look at what those things are and what you're putting in your body.
Can I add just a quick question? If I look at, I don't buy a lot of packaged food, but if I look at nutrition and banana on 10 different websites, I get 10 different nutrition content
Okay.
for the banana. Have you found a site or an app that you say, hey, that sounds about right and good for checking things out?
Are you talking about like the amount of carbs and stuff like
Just
that
the
in it?
overall calories, carbs, everything
Yeah.
in that. And so I don't know if you've had luck with one website or app over another.
Yep, so that's going to highly depend on how big your banana is, basically. So if you have a banana, a carb, bananas are carbs,
Right.
is a 1 gram has 4 calories. So if you have a banana that's really big, it's 100 grams,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's going to be 400 calories, obviously.
Right.
It's probably not going to be that big. But if you're going to have a smaller banana, it's going to be less. So on those websites, and that's a really good question too, and that's a good thing to point out, is that a lot of people see on a generic website, or if they're doing MyFitnessPal and they don't have a food scale, it might say medium banana. Well, what's your definition of a medium
Right.
banana versus my definition of a medium banana? So if you are someone who counts calories, you certainly don't have to have a healthy diet. You could put that you have a 50 calorie banana when it was a 150 calorie banana, right? And have kind of that discrepancy there. So it's going to highly depend on the grams. If you want an accurate count, you're going to want to get a food scale and weigh the banana. Yeah, that's a great question. Other question? Okay, cool. All right, I have another question. What is optimal nutrition for increasing strength and losing weight? So this is the most common request that I have from every single one of my nutrition clients who comes in. Literally every single one of them has said this to me. And I love bringing this up because losing weight and building muscle are completely opposing goals. Completely opposing goals. So what this means is if you are someone who wants to lose weight, you should be in a calorie deficit, meaning that you are burning more calories than you are consuming. If you want to build strength or to build muscle, you want to be eating at maintenance calories, so what it takes to maintain your body weight, right? So you're not gaining or you're not losing weight or above that. Okay, so when these people come in and say this, you can't be in a deficit and in a surplus at the same time, right? So what I usually direct my nutrition clients to is going to be kind of a body recomposition, okay? And what this means is you are lifting very heavy weights. Lifting is going to be your best friend if you want to build strength and you want to quote unquote tone up, okay? And eating at maintenance calories, at least maintenance calories. You might not see the scale be changing a lot, right, with something along these lines, but you're going to see your body transform. There's a kind of a quote out there, people argue if this is right or this is not, muscle weighs more than fat, right? And what this actually means is muscle, this bit of muscle might weigh 5 pounds, but that bit of fat is bigger. 5 pounds of fat looks bigger. So you can argue whether or not that's true. However, once you start building muscle, you will start getting leaner. Most cases is what we're looking at for something like that. For something like this, if this is your goal to kind of, again, tone up, your best friends are going to be nutrient-dense foods. These are the least inflammatory foods that you can be putting in your body. The most nutrient-dense foods, obviously, they are going to be the healthiest for you, which will help you maintain a healthy weight as you're going through this. And especially protein. If you guys want to gain strength, if you want to lose weight, any of your nutrition goals, whatever they are, eat protein. Eat more protein than you think that you should be eating. If you think you eat a lot of protein, eat more protein. Protein is going to be your best friend for something like that.
Okay, so I have a habit of trying to substitute, I think I told you this before, protein, I don't know if it's substitute, but I eat a lot of nuts.
Okay.
Is that like I think to myself, I don't eat that much meat, but I always eat a lot of nuts.
Okay, yeah, that's a great question because nuts are one of those things that has a couple different macronutrients in them. So nuts, depending on what kind of nut it is, right? It has
that Sam's, what is it?
The trail.
Walnut, no. Walnuts.
Hazelnuts, cashews,
Okay.
pistachios.
Yeah.
Anyways, nuts have fat.
Right.
Their primary macronutrient are going to be fat. They have a little bit of protein, a little bit of carbs, again, depending on the nut, okay? I would not count those as a source of protein. While they have protein in them, I would not put a whole thing of nuts on your plate for protein because you might get 2 grams of protein out of that, but you're also getting 15 grams of fat out of that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that you shouldn't eat them because you should if that's something that you enjoy in your diet, but I wouldn't use that as a source of protein. Good question, really good question. All right, I have another good question. This is one of my favorite questions. How can I increase my metabolism? So this is a good question, and this is something that I think is so interesting because there's a lot of stuff on the internet that I've seen, that you guys have probably seen too, that if you eat this food, it will increase your metabolism. If you work out a certain way, it'll increase your metabolism. But right, like we're obsessed with increasing our metabolism. And a lot of people claim that they have a slow metabolism, right? They might say something like, oh, if I even look at a cookie, my butt grows, right? Or I get really fat, or whatever that is. Well, that may be true, right? There are some people who definitely have genetic factors that make their metabolism slow, right? There might be some health implications, there might be some other genetic factors that go along with that. So I definitely don't want to discredit those. However, we are a lot more in control of our metabolism than we actually think. Our metabolism, like everything else in our body, is very, very, very highly adaptable. Okay, so what I mean by this is our metabolism is constantly changing depending on our activity level, what we're feeding ourselves, how much we're feeding ourselves, how often we're feeding ourselves, how often we're walking, moving around, all of those different kind of things. So when someone's dieting, right, a lot of people love to diet, what's the new fancy diet, all that kind of stuff. And the multi-billion-dollar diet industry loves telling us about dieting, but they don't love telling us about the downsides of dieting, right? And this is true for people who diet, people who yo-yo diet, people who are just chronically under eating and maybe are not necessarily aware of it. But some side effects that can go into dieting, right, is going to be 1, slowing your metabolism. Dieting slows your metabolism. Your body adapts to the amount of calories that you are giving it. So it will slow down the less energy that you are giving it. Extreme cases could lead to hypothyroid disease. We can get gut issues. We can get hormone imbalances, women especially, amenorrhea, that also goes along with hormone imbalances. We can get brain fog. fatigue, loss of hunger because your metabolism slowed down, so it doesn't need as much food as it did. Mood imbalances, it could lead to weight gain, binge eating, yo-yo dieting, or kind of going on and off that kind of roller coaster. And there's a lot more. Hair loss is a big one. Big bags under your eyes. Those are a lot of different kind of side effects that go along with dieting. But the good news is our metabolisms are smart and they can adapt, right? They're very highly adaptable. Like I just said, they adapted to you dieting, so they can adapt to you increasing your food as well. So some of you have seen this picture. I've shared this before. I slowed my metabolism down and had every single symptom that I shared with you, if not more. I was eating 1,600 calories a day, which probably doesn't even sound that small to some of you. But my maintenance calories at the time should have been around 2,500 to 3,000 for my age, my height, my size, and my activity level. Through that dieting, I slowed my metabolism so much, I was diagnosed with hypothyroidism. I had all these gut imbalances. I was very, very sick. It was not a very fun time. So I had really, really great nutrition coaches and registered dietitians who helped me get my metabolism back to a better place. So what does this look like? Reverse dieting. Reverse dieting is exactly what it sounds like. If you are dieting, you are slowly lowering your calories over time. If you are reverse dieting, you are slowly increasing your calories over time. Okay, so what does this look like? So say you're eating 1,600 calories per day, and your maintenance calories are around 2,200 calories, you would add a little bit every single week. And we add a little bit at a time because usually the people that are under eating are the people that are trying to lose weight or want to lose weight in the first place. Okay, so they don't want to gain weight, right? And if you up your calories really, really high, very fast, you're going to gain weight fast, right? That's usually how that goes. So if you do it at a very slow pace, your metabolism has time to slowly adapt to those amount of calories. So again, this is something that's really, really great because in the picture on the left, in the teal color shirt that I was wearing, I was eating around 1,600 calories. In my picture on the right, I'm 25 pounds less and I'm eating around 23 to 2,500 calories a day. So there's a huge difference, right? But I got my metabolism back to a place that it was adaptive, right? I wasn't just eating something small and I was gaining weight from it, right? Because my metabolism was adapted, it wasn't slowed down at that point. Questions?
Are you gonna leave metabolism or are you staying?
Am I what?
Are you gonna stay on the metabolism?
No. Do you have a question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does your metabolism slow down as you get older?
That's a great question. I've heard that after the age of 60, that your metabolism slows down by 0.7% every single year. I don't know if that's exactly true. However, in the research that I've done, I have found that, or I've read, that is a huge myth, that people's metabolism slows down as they age. What's actually slowing down is people's activity levels. So what they're finding is that, if you're a kid, if you're a college student, you're playing, you're going to your activities, you're going to school, whatever that is, as we get older and older, we become more and more sedentary. As you become more sedentary, your metabolism slows down because you're not bringing as much energy.
I do have one other question.
Yeah.
Your maintenance calories. I'm guessing that your maintenance calories is dependent on your activity level. Is that right?
Yep.
So if you say I'm working out 3 days a week in CrossFit, I guess you gotta figure out what your maintenance calorie level is.
Yep.
I've used FitnessPal.
Yeah.
Which seems to do it for you.
Okay.
I don't know if it's accurate or not.
Yeah.
But you're saying you are an advocate of what was it called?
Reverse dieting.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
To get to
to get your metabolism back up to a healthy place. Yeah, totally. So my favorite, if you are looking for what your maintenance calories are, you can't just guess that number, right? And there's a lot of factors that go into it. My favorite, if you're looking for an actual calculator, no calculator is going to actually tell you exactly what that's going to be. No fitness tracker can tell you how many calories you're actually burning in a day. However, I do like the Precision Nutrition. If you go on precisionnutrition.com, you type in macro calculator or like a macro calculator or something like that, it will tell you what your maintenance calories should be. This is, roughly what it is, maybe within a couple hundred calories, but you can kind of get yourself to that place and start to kind of assess from there. Yeah.
My issue is not starving myself. My issue is eating too much. Because I can eat a lot.
Totally.
Or I used to be able to.
Totally.
And now things have changed.
Totally.
And so eating till you're full
Yeah.
is my problem,
Okay.
because I never
You
get
are,
full.
you are one step ahead of me, Bari. Good question, good question. So I had another question that was what foods curb your appetite? And before I kind of get into specifics of Bari, what you were asking, our bodies are very, very smart and they're very adaptable, right? Like what I was just talking about with your metabolism. Your metabolism is constantly adapting, right? Our bodies are constantly adapting with the environment that we're putting it in, okay? So our bodies are also very, very, very smart and are constantly communicating with us, right? Just like, let's go back to that car example. Your car turns on its, I don't have any gas light on it. Your body tells you when you're hungry, right? So that might be something along the lines of your stomach's growling, you maybe feel lightheaded, you might get hangry. Yes, hanger is a real actual thing, right? There's a million different things. So I have a lot of people say things like, how do I curb my appetite? And how do I, what are maybe some supplements that could do that or something like that? And my question would be, would you put something in your car that made your car think that it had gas in it, but it didn't actually put gas in it, right? What? Eat food. If you're hungry, your body's asking you for food, right? So my immediate answer to that is if you're hungry, you should eat food. Let's go back and eat some nutrient-dense foods, right, that we were talking about earlier. So we feel satiated, so we're giving our body the nutrients that it needs, right? And now, if you're saying something along the lines of, like Bari, I am eating way more than I think that I should. I am maybe mindlessly eating and I like to just kind of, when I'm walking past the kitchen, just grab a handful of chips or nuts or chocolate or whatever it is. That's a totally different story. So if we're doing that, let's go back to that graphic that we saw and let's grab something that's nutrient dense, right? Let's make sure that we have 2 macronutrients. So let's grab a protein plus a carb or a protein plus a fat. These are something that's gonna keep us satiated for longer. And if we're still feeling starving, right, then maybe you need something more, right? Maybe we need to drink a glass of water, right, or something along those lines. But a lot of times, what I see clients doing is when they're overeating, it's because they're undereating in another element of their life. I'll give you an example of this. I had a nutrition client come to me and she said, I have this huge problem with overeating at night. She's like, after dinner, I literally cannot stop snacking. She's like, it's literally like my food is I can't stop putting food in my mouth. So we looked at her food diary and what she was eating throughout the day, how much she was eating, how frequently, and we found that she was eating breakfast, and then she skipped her whole day, and then she ate dinner, and that's it. Okay, so what did we do? I said, let's eat lunch. Let's literally throw some lunch in there. Let's add protein, carbs, fat, and a vegetable in there. Problem solved, right? She wasn't under eating anymore. So her body wasn't craving extra food all day. She was feeding her body exactly what it needed, exactly what it was asking for, and we took that away, right? So by maybe eating a little bit more, we'll find ourselves having those cravings a little bit less. Does that answer your question, Bari?
Pretty much. I think I've probably developed some bad habits too, that just have to be broken, right?
Yeah.
Like snacking after 8 o'clock.
Totally.
After I just ate dinner.
Totally.
So,
Yeah.
being like just snacking.
Yeah.
Feeling hungry.
I would just add more protein, more vegetables to your dinner. Because if you're fuller, you're probably not going to want to reach for those snacks. Maybe drink a glass of water after or before your meal.
Is it possible just to develop bad habits and that have to be broken? Or is it something to do?
Totally.
Am I actually craving something that I'm not getting in my dinner?
Could be either or. Yeah, it definitely could be.
For me, when I was like trying to lose weight like a while back, it was like both, definitely. Like, because you're in such a habit of after dinner to like grab that popcorn or whatever. And so just like, it tastes good because that's what you're used to every single night. And so like if you give that up like for a week, it tastes not nearly as good. Because you're not hungry. It's just you telling yourself you're hungry.
Or
Not all the time. I mean, like, of course, sometimes you really are missing something, but like, most of the time you probably are getting like plenty of food. It's a habit, Or at least for me it was, like, I ate so much.
Totally. Yeah, so I would say drink a glass of water, maybe brush your teeth, wait 20, 30 minutes, and if you're like, I'm still ravenous, like, still hungry, honor that. And if not, then read a book or do something for your
Water's
habit.
a good thing to do though, right? And
Yeah.
if you're feeling this and you don't really feel like you need to be eating,
Totally.
just drink a bunch of water.
Yeah, totally. Water's always great for you. Yeah. Other questions? On that? All right. I got another really good question. I really liked this one. Is wheat belly fact or myth? And to give you a little bit of context into this, there is a book out there called Wheat Belly where I've never read it, so take what I say with a grain of salt. This is my kind of what I've experienced, what I have seen, but I've never read the book, so I don't know the actual claims that go into it. However, the claim of this book is that eating wheat or wheat-based products will make you fat in your stomach, right? Make your stomach grow and maybe have some bad gut problems that go along with eating wheat. So my short answer to this is going to be both fact and myth, depending on the person. So if you are someone who maybe has a gluten intolerance, if you are someone who maybe has a gluten sensitivity, or if you have celiac disease, eating wheat is not going to be your friend, and it is going to destroy the little bugs in your gut. Okay, so you might have something like bloating, you might have something like extra inflammation in your gut, right? These sort of things that are making you gain weight in your midsection, okay? However, in my opinion, and in what I've seen and what I've experienced, this doesn't just go for wheat, right? You can have a food intolerance to absolutely anything. I know people who have an intolerance to poultry. I know people who have an intolerance to garlic or onions, right? And any of these things, if you have some kind of intolerance or it is disrupting your gut bugs, is going to cause maybe some inflammation in your gut, right? You might be bloated, you might have an inflamed gut, so your stomach is sticking out a little bit more. You might, be thin everywhere else and have a larger stomach because your stomach is inflamed, right? You see that little image that the stomach is angry. So it could be for anything. Again, I don't know the research on if it's wheat in particular. I personally do not have a problem with wheat. I eat, bread and I'm completely fine. Many of you probably do too, right? And it doesn't cause something like that for me. However, if we do have gut problems, which many Americans do because we eat a lot of processed foods, some different things that we could do to improve our gut health is going to be eat as many nutrient-dense foods as possible. Avoid seed oils, like I was talking about earlier, those destroy your gut. Avoid alcohol, don't shoot the messenger, but alcohol is so bad for your gut health. Avoid or reduce antibiotics, obviously only if you can. If you have something really, really bad that you need antibiotics, but antibiotics do strip all of the good bacteria in your gut as well as the bad ones. Reduce stress, stress goes straight to our gut. Drink enough water, eat fiber every single day, that's lots of veggies, and fruit will help with that. And then if you actually do have some kind of gut imbalances or gut problems, working with someone, an expert, a gut health expert or a doctor will be your next step, or your last step for that. All right, my friends, so just to end off with the easiest and the most overlooked ways to lose weight, gain muscle, live a healthy lifestyle, this can be included in absolutely everyone's, and it's not super complex, right? There's a lot of stuff in the diet industry telling us you need to eat this certain way, you need to eat this certain diet, whatever that is, and you don't. It's actually a lot simpler. 1, drink enough water. Barry, you were talking about water. Water is going to be your best friend. Drink as much of it as you possibly can. Next up is walk 8,000 to 10,000 steps in a day. Movement is going to be your absolute best friend. One time I had a nutrition client. I told her that she needed to walk 8,000 to 10,000 steps per day because her goal was to lose weight. And she looked at me and said, walking is literally not going to do anything. She said, I might as well just do a HIIT workout during that time, every 10 minutes. And no, you shouldn't. You should be walking. You should be getting movement. 1, it's really, really good for your mental health, right? It's very calming. It's very relaxing. We want to be in that rest and digest. We're always on. We're always stressed out, right? So if we can get our body into that rest and digest, that's what's going to get our body to start losing that fat, also gaining that muscle that we want when it feels like it's safe to do so. And just getting that extra movement, it's really, really good for you. It burns calories. No, it doesn't burn as much calories as a HIIT workout, but you can do it for a lot longer than you can do a HIIT workout, right? Could you do an AMRAP in here for 3 hours a day? Probably not. You probably don't want to. Get 30 minutes of sunshine daily. Reduce or manage stress. We need to lower that stress. I've also told nutrition clients to start meditating, do something to reduce their stress. They all look at me like I'm crazy, but stress is going to be the worst thing when it comes to reaching any of your fitness goals. Sleep 8 to 10 hours per night. Some of you have heard my little rule on this. My rule for myself is if I sleep less than 7 hours, I'm not allowed to train. So a lot of people say like you have to earn your meals. I'm the opposite. I have to earn my training. If I'm not eating enough, if I'm not sleeping enough, and my stress is too high, I'm not training that day, because not sleeping puts so much stress on your body. Lift heavy. If you guys want to grab the 10s, go for the 15s. If you're going for the 25s, go for the 30s. Always be lifting heavy. Take at least one rest day per week. Again, we want that rest and digest. We want to get back our body back to that equilibrium. Eat enough food. Eat protein and veggies. Again, eat those nutrient-dense foods. 70 to 75% is what we're looking for. Reduce alcohol. Again, don't shoot the messenger, but alcohol is like the worst thing you could put into your body if you are gaining muscle, if you are losing fat, any of those things. It's very, very stressful on your body. Reduce or eliminate seed oils, and then improve your gut health. And I would add one more thing to this, and I would just say consistency. This stuff doesn't happen overnight. It's a very, very long process for a lot of people, but it pays off in the end. Any questions?
I think you answered the question, but since it's up there, I'm gonna
Yes.
ask it. Like, all these things improve your gut health.
Yeah.
I'm assuming.
Yep.
But the last one says improve your gut health.
Yep.
So are there other things for your gut health, like a supplement of some sort, or?
That's a great question. I personally would not recommend blindly taking gut supplements. And the reason for this is depending on if you have something in your gut, like a bacterial overgrowth or something like that, and you are taking a specific probiotic that maybe is feeding the bacteria in there, you don't want to do that, right? So I would say work with a gut health expert. I would first and foremost, like I was talking about in this slide, do these things first. Before taking any supplements, let's eat nutrient-dense foods. Let's drink enough water. Let's reduce our stress. Let's reduce those seed oils. All of those different things are going to be your first go-to. If we have a horrible gut, you know what I mean, like a really bad gut issues, seek an expert. And if any of you do need someone, I've worked with a gut health expert and I have a good reference for that if you need that. But I would not recommend blindly taking supplements because it may help the problem, it may be feeding the problem and making it 100 times
What
worse.
about organic, would that help? I mean, less chemicals being applied to the vegetables, so if you try to focus a little more on purchasing organic foods, would that help gut health?
Yeah, totally, absolutely, yeah. No pesticides and stuff like that on there, hopefully, yeah, for sure. What other questions? Any other questions?
I can Google it. You don't have to answer it right now.
Yeah.
But Dan knows this. I don't love meats.
Yeah.
So I was vegetarian for a few years. So I really struggle to get enough protein.
Yeah.
I'm sure so many people share in that with me.
Yeah, totally.
So if you were gonna say like top 5, non-meat foods that have the highest amount of protein, what would you?
Do you eat fish?
Something.
Okay, I would say fish would be good. If you eat dairy, I would say that like something like Greek yogurt would be good. Cheeses, any type of milk that would be like an organic, like a grass-fed milk would be good for that. If you want to supplement, you could find a vegan protein powder. Cottage cheese has a ton of protein. I don't like cottage cheese.
I love cottage cheese. Strawberries. I like
Yeah.
the fruit on it.
It's a good source of protein. I actually had a vegan client, so I have a big list of them that I will send to you.
Okay.
Tofu is good as well,
Tofu, if you can handle soy, is fine.
Tempa's good too.
Tempeh,
I do like eggs. I'm like not. We talked about this in class. I don't want them multiple times a day.
yeah, like eggs all
I
day.
like eggs. I'm not, well, scrambled for breakfast,
Totally.
hard boiled at lunch,
Sounds good to me.
over at dinner.
Yeah, I'll send you a bigger list of that.
I would appreciate it.
Yeah, Bart.
So, this class may not be for me, but totally because I'm older, more like your dad. And they say that men start to lose.
You're not old.
They say that men start to lose their muscle mass.
Okay.
So if you're losing your muscle mass, and you're trying to exercise and do everything that if it's reducing, then how do you adjust your calories accordingly?
I would eat more
Just-
protein.
Okay, I guess where I'm going with this also is, can you build muscle mass, or is it just inevitable that it's just gonna break down?
I mean, it may or may not be. It could be. If you're sitting on your couch and you're sedentary, yes, you're definitely going to lose muscle mass. But if you're coming in here, you're exercising, you're lifting heavy weights,
So you're
The
still
amount of
building muscle mass.
you're still
even
building
as you
muscle
get
mass.
older.
Maybe,
If you're
maybe
lifting
you have to
weights.
compensate for getting older, if you wanna build, to keep your muscle mass, you need to compensate because you're naturally gonna lose it as you age.
I think you should be lifting more as you age, if that's what you're saying, because
So you need
those
to
are
compensate for what you will naturally lose as you get older.
yeah,
It's more important for us than a 25-year-old.
yeah, oh, 1,000%, yeah.
So the caloric intake should compensate for that amount of extra work. Just, you don't wanna reduce it just because your mass is going down, your muscle mass.
No, I would say that reducing it would make your muscle mass go down. Yeah, so I would eat more protein for sure to keep that muscle mass up and just keep lifting.
Heavy.
Heavy lifting. Janet.
Gut supplements.
Yeah.
What are probiotics? Are they considered gut supplements?
Yep, probiotics
Oh, they are?
gut supplement. Yes.
What did you think they were?
Well, I don't know.
No, I'm just curious.
I mean, I take probiotics, not every day, but, you know, maybe 3 times a week, and I'm just trying to figure out what
That's literally the definition, that's what.
of a gut supplement.
Yeah.
Is there not a thing going around about probiotics versus prebiotics? Probiotics kind of falling out of favor because they don't stick around, whereas prebiotics actually feed your gut flora.
Well, your
Is
gut
it the opposite way
flora are
around?
probiotics, your
But they don't
prebiotics
stick
feed.
around. That's why I think
Yeah,
that's
but-
why it's going out of, or at least that's why it's coming under current challenge. Let's say that. Let's say the science and whether whichever side you fall on it. But I thought that was the rise of prebiotics and the challenge against probiotics is probiotics.
I mean, I'll let
are
Callie
encouraged
answer
to
this,
stay
but I have
around.
my own
I don't know.
opinion
It's
about
just. I guess it's a question. So.
It's a good question, and I don't know I couldn't tell you yes this or yes no. And the reason that I say don't blindly supplement with gut supplements, I had H. pylori, which is a bacterial overgrowth in my gut. It was making me very, very bloated and have a lot of mood imbalances. I started taking a probiotic because that is what the internet told me to do. And what I ended up doing was putting the wrong strain, and I don't know, I'm not a probiotic or a gut health expert, but I was putting the wrong strain of probiotics into my body. So I was actually feeding the bad bacteria that was in my body. I ended up doing some testing, working with a gut health expert later. She got me on the right strain, whatever it was. But that's why I say don't blindly supplement with it. If you are using something and it works wonders for you, obviously don't change it. But that's why I say don't just go out and say, oh, my gut's bad, I'm just gonna buy this probiotic off the shelf. Talk to someone before you do that. That's kind of where I stand with that, if you wanna add to that.
I just wanted to clarify what prebiotic and probiotic means. So probiotics, people get lost, it's kind of back to Janet's question. Think about an antibiotic. What is an antibiotic? It's a drug designed to kill your gut flora, to destroy the bacteria that lives in your body. Probiotics does the complete opposite. Probiotics are actually bacteria. It's not a drug that feeds bacteria, it is bacteria. When you, in that little capsule, there are billions of little microorganisms that you are putting into your gut. So you are replenishing your gut flora. The problem is, like Helen brought up, is they don't stick around. Why don't they stick around? Because, you know, it's kind of like they're at war all the time, and they lose that war all the time. So that's what prebiotics are for. So I think where you were going with that, I could be wrong, is that taking probiotics without prebiotics is like, you know, trying to start a fire by rubbing 2 metal rods together instead of 2 pieces of wood, you know? Like you need, I don't know, you can't start a fire that way, but that wasn't my point. But what I'm saying is, all right, how about 2 wet sticks? Is that better? So you need to feed the probiotics, okay? If your gut flora is thriving, there's a reason for it, okay? And if it's dying, there's a reason for it. So there's prebiotic fiber in so much of the food you guys already eat. So I think the emphasis of like, oh, you gotta have prebiotics, it's already there. If you're eating fiber, it's there. There are definite advantages to looking into certain kinds of prebiotics. Now, like they're in everything. You see it, prebiotic soda. I mean, it's in everything. All that means is they put chicory root in it. So, and chicory root is a great source of resistant starch. I don't know if you want to go down that road, but that's a really good prebiotic. So basically, bacteria is really good for you. You need it, okay? Some bacteria is pathogenic and it will kill you. but most of the bacteria in you is good for you. You just gotta find what, like Callie was saying, like what works for you. I've had my gut tested so I know it lives in me, and it's exactly what I thought would be in there. It's a typical American gut, you know? Before I'm taking over your thing, I'm gonna stop in a second, I'm sorry.
No.
Most of your gut bacteria and what you live with for your life is established before the age of 6. After that, you are fighting to keep that bacteria in your gut your whole life. But that's why it's so important, and I have little children, that your little kids eat the right stuff. Because that's when they build their gut health, and that's how they stay either healthy or not healthy their whole lives. So, but that doesn't mean like after 6 you're screwed. You just gotta work a little harder to make it happen. So, like Callie was saying, you should know what's in your gut.
See,
And
another
it's either
thing I
good or
can blame
bad.
my mother for.
Yes, totally. If you have gut issues, it's your parents' fault. That's the thing. And the amount of antibiotics that I was on as a kid is insane. I look back and I'm just like, what were my parents doing? But they didn't know any better. It wasn't their fault. I don't blame them. But like, it's crazy. I was on antibiotics for everything. Every minute, it was like, give that kid an antibiotic. You know, it's like, so it's dangerous. That can really, of course, antibiotics, save lives too. But we overeat them. So eat them. Like the chips. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Other questions? Yeah.
Yeah, so going back to your part about heavy lifting, muscle, and losing weight. We didn't talk about cardio. Workout. So, are you an advocate if you just lift heavy and you're concentrating on your muscles? I'm sorry,
aerobics.
Aerobics, yeah, sorry. I'll use myself as an example.
Yeah.
I've been doing CrossFit for a long time. I amped it up to 3 days a week. I'm 204 pounds. I was that when I started.
Okay.
Getting into it again, I'm still 204 pounds. My waist size is the same on my pants. My muscles are more toned. And my belly is still bloated or big. It's kind of fatty.
Okay.
So, would you say that maybe I need more aerobic exercise to maybe, is there some balance there where is it just building muscle, or should you be doing more aerobic? I know I'm practically dying in here when breathing, so it seems aerobic, but I'm not sure
You
that
should today's vlog 10 times a day.
All day long.
How would you, is there something else that, besides diet, that a person would maybe throw in there, and you mentioned heavy lifting. Would you put in there something cardio-wise that would help reduce, burn some of that fat that's maybe lingering, or do you think just building muscle is the best way to eat fat away?
My opinion, there's a lot of different opinions on this. Dan and I have a different opinion. Building muscle is going to be the best way to reduce the amount of fat. Cardio is fine. If you love cardio, that's great. Go for it. I would say walk, get more movement in throughout your day. 8,000 to 10,000 steps a day. Take a little bit more walks, get a little bit more sunshine, all that kind of stuff. You don't necessarily need to do cardio to lose weight at all. If you don't want to. It kind of depends. If you're like, I love cardio and I feel like doing that, by all means go for it. But building muscle and lifting is going to be your best friend, in my opinion.
I agree 100%.
But you said 8,000 to 10,000 feet steps a day. You recommend?
So that's not cardiovascular exercise.
I was going to say, do you want that consecutive, or is that like throughout the day, just walking around the house, make sure you move?
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, there's 3 metabolic pathways, and you get to the oxidative cardiovascular, cardiorespiratory pathway after everything else is exhausted, but everything else gets exhausted pretty quickly. So you are almost always in an oxidative state when you're just moving around and sustaining activity. So it's I wouldn't categorize that as cardiovascular exercise, but it's movement, and that's the key. I'm not a huge advocate of cardio. I think, to me, it's a stupid CrossFit joke, but cardio is just lift weights faster, lift weights. That's what you should be doing. Being strong everywhere in your body is going to make you healthier and fitter. Like Callie said, if you like running, run. don't get out there running because you feel like you need to burn some more calories. Eat less calories.
So your 8 to 10,000 steps, it's at a conversational pace.
Yeah, casual. I'm just saying get movement throughout the day. 10,000 steps throughout the day, that equates, depending on the person, to around like 2.5, 3-ish miles of walking. I mean, if you look at that over the course of a day, like how many extra calories are you burning? You're getting outside, you're getting sunshine. It's very meditative, so it's actually, you know, or lowering your stress. Like there's a lot of benefits to getting your walking in. That was not me saying like get a ton of cardio in. That was definitely not the point of that. Yeah, but I would just say lift heavy weights.
In
Short
terms of recovery,
Mhm.
I don't know if this rule of thumb is correct, but I want your feedback on it, is to eat about half as many calories as you burn during the workout.
You'd have for like after the workout.
In terms of like protein, like a egg and a banana.
Okay. My initial reaction to that is you will never know how many calories you burned in a workout. You could wear all of the fitness watches in the world, it will not give you an accurate description of that. For example, I wear an Apple Watch, I usually wear a Whoop. My Apple Watch told me today that I burned around 800 calories from this workout. If I was wearing my Whoop, it would probably tell me I burned around 200 calories. So, would you eat 400 or would you eat 100, right? So you don't know the answer to that. You probably want 400. But, it just,
I just want to make sure that I'm eating enough to get the full benefits of the workout because then your body needs it.
Totally, exactly. And so I would say something along the lines of if you're gonna eat a meal, eat a meal. And what I'm looking for a meal, maybe someone like you, depending on what your calorie needs are, maybe 500 to 800 calories or something like that. If you want more of a snack, maybe like 350 calories will do it for you.
Okay. So that's more than an egg and a banana.
Yeah, your banana on average is probably 100 calories.
Yeah. So if I get it from 9 to 10, I'm not going to eat a meal out at 10:30 when I get home.
Yeah, I would add protein to that carb.
Yeah.
2 macros, yeah.
Like an egg and a, pardon?
Yeah, like 2 macronutrients. So like I said, I'd add like a protein to that banana. So if you want a banana, that's gonna be your carb. Add a protein shake, add eggs or whatever that is to that. Yeah.
Almond butter and banana.
Almond butter and banana. Exactly.
Almond butter, banana, and pecans on top.
Yeah. Sounds good.
So,
So I'm not eating enough.
eat some more.
I mean, my question for you is like, I'm not gonna say like, Kevin, you need to go stuff your face with food. Do you feel like that satiates you, whatever snack that you have after your meal, or do you feel like you're like an hour later you're starving?
It does satiate me. It's more a question of I don't want to work out and then not give my body the fuel that I need to benefit from the workout.
Totally. And your body's gonna tell you that, right? If you feel satiated and you feel like that was enough for you, then stick with that, right? And that's kind of why I'm not really a big fan of counting calories, right? Because a lot of people find themselves either not eating enough because they're like, well, it doesn't fit within my calorie count, but I'm still starving. They're not honoring what their body is saying, or they're stuffing their faces because they have to hit whatever that is, right? And it's like for you, if you're like, okay, I'm choking down these eggs and these 2 bananas, but I'm really, really full, like don't do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like maybe try, if you want to try out having an extra half of a banana or an extra egg and see how you feel, try it out. But your body, like I said, our bodies are smart. They're adaptable. They're gonna tell us what they need. Yeah.
But what about like building a lot of muscle? If I like want to build more muscle, do I want to stuff my face more?
Yeah, you do. Yeah, that's a really great point. Like, I definitely am not on the side of like overstuffing yourself or underfueling yourself. But if you're someone who's like, I want to get like fucking yoked, like, yeah, you're gonna have to eat yourself uncomfortable. But your body will adapt to that over time, right? Like, you might do like the reverse diet. I'm gonna add 100 calories this week, and then I'm gonna add 100 calories the next week, and just slowly do that over time, so your body starts adapting to that too. Instead of going from like I'm eating 2,000 calories to 3,000 calories, and I feel stuffed and bloated and stuff like that. I would do it at a slower pace. But yeah, you want to get yoked, you gotta eat the foods, protein and the carbs. What other questions?
Arnold wasn't eating half a banana.
Get those biceps.
I'm just curious, does everyone have a goal?
What's your goal, Kristen?
More what Kevin was saying, like more fuel after the workout. I feel like I'm not getting as strong as I want to be, and I know that I sometimes don't eat after a workout. I'm just running to the next place. So I need to be better about pre-planning post-workout fuel.
Like that never even crossed my mind. Like
I-
eating after a workout.
Can I jump on
Never.
that real
I
quick?
would love for you to.
The idea that you need to stuff your face right after you work out is kind of a myth.
Okay.
You do need to refuel yourself, but it doesn't have to happen right away. You know, muscle magazines, the ones I used to read when I first got into lifting weights was you have a 45-minute window to get your protein shaken. They're also trying to sell you protein shakes. So the bottom line is, yes, you do need to fuel yourself, but don't feel like it has to happen immediately. You know, in fact, you're burning fat right after you work out. Your muscles are not done building. It's not like you only have a little tiny window to build them. They're going to build throughout the day. You do need to fuel them, but don't feel like you've missed an opportunity. I think a lot of people feel that way. I didn't get my protein right after I worked out. I missed that. Oh, it's almost like some people will think I used to when I was younger. Like I just did that crazy workout, but I didn't get my protein, so it wasn't worth nothing. You know, that's just not true. You're lifting heavy weights, you're building muscle. Period. You do need to fuel them too.
How many meals a day do you eat, Dan?
Me personally?
Yeah.
So I will answer this question, but with a caveat, everyone's different. So just because of what I eat, don't let that influence you. I eat 4 meals a day, sometimes 3, but they're big, and I eat when I eat. I also snack.
Well, like plantain chips doesn't count as a snack. I mean, like
Why don't they?
a can of Pringles is a snack.
So back to what Callie said, both of those are snacks. And first of all, plantain chips can be just as bad as the Pringles. The plantain chips that are cooked in coconut oil are a much better option than the ones that they're probably the same as Pringles. So, but yeah, no, back to what Callie was saying. Yes, I snack, but yes, you're jesting, but like my snacks are nutrient dense. But that's by design. I make sure they are. Okay.
So what is a snack for you?
Pickles and peanut butter.
Well, I don't eat peanut butter, but yeah, it could be. I have and peanut butter. Peanut butter's not bad for you. Well, it is, but no peanut butter. But there is good peanut butter out there. Janet, we've talked about this extensively.
Dan's like, no.
No, not so's okay. So there are just. This is a whole nother conversation. I'm not even going to get into it, but the peanut industry is really messed up, and there's a lot of really unhealthy.
Getting into it.
Going back to gut health. All right, there's a lot of bacteria in most peanut butter that's out there. The industry is just really messed up, and there's no governance over it, and most of the peanut butter people eat is complete garbage. Okay, and most of it, like you said, read your ingredients. Look what's in there. If it doesn't just say peanuts, you're eating the wrong stuff. It shouldn't have 4 other ingredients in it. Hydrogenated palm oil should not be in your peanut butter.
And sugar.
And sugar shouldn't be in there either, right? So shouldn't be the first ingredient either.
I had the same question for you. How many meals a day do you eat?
I eat 3 meals a day, and I have 1 to 2 snacks a day, depending on my hunger level. But like Dan, they're big meals. They're satiating meals.
Yeah, I eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and that's not because I think people should. I think that's some weird American made-up thing that you're supposed to do. But it's just the way my schedule works, so I do that. But this is interesting. I just found this out when I read this book, 1929. Do you know, up until Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig were paid by the bacon industry to promote bacon and eggs, that was not a staple in an American diet. It suddenly became it. Most Americans ate toast for breakfast until that happened in the 20s. So it was really just marketing that kind of changed that for the better. We started eating more protein. But like this idea that you have to eat breakfast, or it has to be bacon and eggs or toast or whatever is kind of silly. You don't even need to eat breakfast at all. So you just need to eat. It doesn't have to be the first thing you do when you wake up. You're going to say something. Sorry.
No, I'm sorry for you to be done, but I never did hear what you actually did for a snack.
I know, because it started with the peanut butter.
And I really the same question for you, because the snacking it's an important part.
Yeah, it is. It's well, Callie, go ahead.
What's your snack?
What's your snack?
Lately it's been, and I'm not vegan, but I eat vegan yogurt for a snack with like some kind of nut butter, like a banana, and some berries with it, or some granola, or something along those lines. A lot of times we have like carrots cut up. We have that with hummus, or some kind of like, if you guys have heard of like, I think it's called bitch and dip. Is that what we have? It's really good.
Bitchin' sauce.
Bitchin' sauce, yeah.
Start a Whole Foods,
something like that is a good snack option. We'll sometimes have jerky in the house. I'll have some kind of like jerky with something, depending on what it is. Hard-boiled eggs we've been having lately. Yeah.
I'm not that far off from Callie, it's very similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Callie, do you like to have 3 equal-sized meals each day?
I wouldn't say that they're equal sized. No.
I mean, in terms of the, you try to gauge like less in the morning, or your big meal in the morning and then less in the evening?
That's a great question. I have done that kind of eating in the past. I used to have having a really, really big breakfast and then having smaller meals during the night. Now I would say all of my meals are probably very similar caloric wise as each other. I think it just depends on what you want to. So like you asked how many meals do you eat in a day? I eat 3 big meals right now, but I also haven't done that my whole life. A couple of years ago, I was one of those people that ate 6 times a day, every 3 hours on the dot, that sort of thing. That worked for me for a while. It just kind of depends on what you like and what you want.
I have friends that swear by fasting a day a week, and do you think that's a bad thing? Or?
It depends on the person. I think that for women, probably not the best thing in the world. They've done a lot of research on fasting and the benefits of it for men, but they haven't for women. And I say that women are different than men because of their hormone profile. If women are not getting enough nutrients in them, they're going to start having hormone imbalances, which is kind of like what I was talking about earlier that I dealt with. So by having this window that you're not eating anything and you're not getting the fuel that you need, I don't think that's the best thing in the entire world. I think if you're someone who, in general, to answer that question, who you wake up and you're just not hungry, don't force yourself to eat breakfast. If you're someone who wakes up and you're hungry, don't be I have to fast so I can't eat until noon. So I wake up literally very hungry every single day, so I eat the first thing when I wake up. I fasted overnight. I sleep for 8 to 10 hours a night, so I was fasting during that window. I don't eat during the night. That's enough fasting for me. So that's my kind of view on it. I've heard some great things about fasting. I have tried fasting before, and it didn't do anything special for me, but for some people, they may or may not think that that's a good idea. So I would say just dependent on the person, but again, kind of go off of what your body wants and is asking for. If you're hungry, don't deprive it. If you're not hungry, don't force it.
If you're in the morning time, if you're just not hungry,
Don't eat.
don't eat that. But if you are hungry,
That
you should
doesn't
listen to
mean,
your body.
but if you don't eat that in the morning, that doesn't mean, okay, that meal's out the window. You still need to eat those calories. They just don't have to happen then.
So it may not just be listening to your body. You may need to force yourself a little bit to have those 3
You'll probably be hungry later because you didn't eat,
Yeah.
and that's when you eat. But don't force yourself to eat.
I mean, I don't know.
Unless you have specific goals, which I know are not yours, to gain weight. So, then you wouldn't do that. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day, is the biggest bunch of bullshit ever. That's, General Mills came up with that. That's not a real thing. That's orange juice and cereal they're trying to sell you.
Yeah, and if you're someone who's I wake up and I'm not hungry, okay, maybe you're gonna plan for an extra snack, maybe you're gonna plan for a bigger lunch or whatever that meal is that you're eating first or whatever that is to still get the calories in that you need. Yeah, good question. What other questions?
Callie,
Yeah.
I'm going to ask the last question.
Yes, of course, any questions?
So you may have answered it, but in terms of each one of us trying to figure out about how many calories we should be eating, is there a formula for that? And with the amount of exercise that we are doing here, because our lifestyles being CrossFit is different than the average person, I would
Totally.
argue.
Yeah, totally. And living at 10,000 feet and being active and skiing and hiking and all that kind of stuff that we do. Yes, there is for that. It's not going to be exact. It's not going to give you an exact number. My favorite, I have used and looked at a ton of different calculators for this, and the one that Precision Nutrition uses is my favorite. So if you type into Google.
Bori, I can send you a link to it if you want.
Yeah.
Would you?
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do it right here.
Thank you.
Before I leave.
It's a macro calculator, and to give you guys a little bit of background on it, you put in your height, your weight, your age, your activity level, and it literally gives you different infographics. If you're I don't know what my activity level is, it will give you, it's very user friendly. You'll click every single one, you'll put in what your goals are, it will give you a count. You don't necessarily have to count calories, it will tell you you should eat this much protein, this many palm sizes or fist sizes or whatever that is, but it's really good.
One last question on that.
Yeah.
When you're putting in, your height and your weight, do you put in what you want to weigh or what you currently weigh?
Currently. Because it will ask you what your goals are.
It asks you both.
And it asks you your activity level too,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And your exercise.
Yep, it asks you, it's very, very,
Kelly, I've actually sent this to you. That's what I sent you that time.
I'll have to look it
That
up.
last thing I sent you, it was a while back. But that's where it came from. It came
I'll
from the
look
decision you calculated.
Okay, I'll look for it.
I'll have Dan send out this PowerPoint and then a link
Yeah,
to
sure.
to
Does
that.
the scale work up front?